Hi guys and welcome to episode 26 of Beat to the Punch. I'm joined on the line by Riku Haikala and Brendan Galuli. Guys, how are we?
Good. Good, not too bad. Doing better than some people.
Yeah, exactly. It's hot down in London as it is all everywhere across the UK. Trains don't work. There's no aircon. So everybody's sweating their nuts off.
I'm pretty much dissolving as we speak. You know, there's just a puddle of me on the ground. I've got kind of like socks on to just soak me up.
So it must be like 20 degrees in Scotland in that case. The hottest time ever.
Oh man, I get held up today in about 2 hours of traffic because the roads were melting.
Yeah.
Fucking, that's insane. Have you ever heard of that? I don't know. I didn't know when we started making roads out of licorice up here, but you know that apparently that's what we do.
Exactly.
I'm glad I got to leave. I left Europe right in prime time.
Yeah, but you left Europe and it's what 30 degrees over here, 36, gone right up to like 40. But you've been back to New York where it's hitting the high 40s and the humidity's through the roof.
I missed that whole thing. Today it was I don't know. I'd say it was about 28 degrees. Not too bad.
Fucking 28 degrees. That's what I'm crying about just now. Is 28
I know
degrees.
that would be ideal.
We have air conditioning everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have insulation, which makes the house even hotter. But but anyway, well, how the show usually goes is we start with last week's action, but with the big news breaking today, that means that the biggest fight of last week, well, one of the biggest fight in the UK last week, is quite irrelevant now, which was Dillian Whyte versus Rivas. But it has emerged today that Dillian Whyte has failed the drugs test. Now, Riku, that kind of makes the weekend's fight totally meaningless. And what's your thoughts on this?
Where do we start? I think we need to start from the beginning. Is that, as normal, UCAD testing, you give your sample, the A sample, that gets tested. If that doesn't come clean, then they test the B sample. So he's failed the A sample test, as reported by Boxing Scene, then picked up by all the other UK media outlets. So that begs the question to me, firstly, why did this fight go ahead? So he failed that test before the fight, which would have been known by the promoters, his team, but they didn't tell Rivas, which meant that the fight went ahead. So potentially we had somebody that's allegedly has taken drugs, gets in the ring with somebody that's unknowingly fighting against the drug cheat. And I think the biggest issue I have with this whole thing is that why is UCAD so cozy with a specific UK promoter that they don't inform, the governing body that's putting their interim title on the line, nor do they inform the fighter that's about to face this guy to give him an option to pull out.
Yeah, this full thing absolutely stinks. And, it reeks, and this kind of feels a little bit like when the seams started coming away with Lance Armstrong. I mean, this started today with an alleged story, and then we had the Daily Mail kind of, to be fair to the Daily Mail, for a cunt paper, they have really got tore into Eddie Hearn today. They've reported Eddie Hearn's trying to get injunctions to stop them reporting. It's been great. And it's also emerged that not even the WBC were informed who sanctioned the fight. Now, Brendan, that is absolutely bizarre, is it not?
I don't know what kind of cover up they're trying to pull over there. It's fucking banana land crazy. That the way it seems they're going to protect this guy, if in fact he did, fail the drug test. That statement by the British Boxing Board of whoever the fuck they are. It didn't say anything. It was like, yeah, someone took a test and something might have happened, but we'd worked together for a clean sport. What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, pretty much. But that statement pretty much just says what it would say on their homepage of their website. It says that we are the UCAD, we are the anti-doping agency, and we test fighters, and that's it, and we won't be making any other comments. Well, fuck, you've totally cleared that up for us. You've totally cleared up the situation. We all know where we stand. But get back to you.
I'm sure there's libel, and no one wants to be called out for libel and slander if the B the B sample comes back negative.
Yeah, but that's a false positive. But I mean, reporting, if it comes to light that the A sample's negative, or sorry, positive, so he's tested positive, surely for the reputation of the sport, the promoter and the management team and the fighter, the other fighter, should know at this stage, so they have an option to pull out, an option not to fight. Because God forbid something bad would have happened to Oscar Rivas, and the B sample comes back negative, then everybody has blood on their hands, including the British Boxing Board of Control, Team White, and Matchroom Boxing, and Sky Sports to an extent.
Yeah, and I mean, we are, as I say, Rivas has not been informed. I mean, surely when this news came out, the first thing that came to my head is Rivas has been told, and he's been kind of, promised maybe another fight at Matchroom with big money, kind of hush money, and it would all be, and that was the kind of view I was getting. But, Rivas's team has come out and says that they were none the wiser. The WBC have come out and says that they didn't know anything about this. And now, and then we had a bizarre statement for Eddie Hearn saying, but the British Board of Control and UCAD gave us a go-ahead, but that's not a denial. That's not a denial.
But also who... They don't sanction a fight to go ahead, right? Like Vavada and UK, they don't make the fight go ahead, so that's meaningless. It's meaningless chatter. He had to say something, so that's all he would say.
Yeah,
well,
and the
interestingly, Eddie Hearn's statement, which he put out this morning, said, "Further to reports, I can confirm that both Dillian Whyte and Oscar Rivas were subject to extensive BARDA and UCAD testing for their bouts. Both fighters were cleared to fight by both bodies and the British Boxing Board of Control." So what that means is that BARDA and UCAD would have sanctioned that fight without telling the governing body that put the fight on. So my biggest problem is this: for the health of the sport, you need to ensure that promoters aren't being, if a fighter tests positive, BARDA and UCAD should be the first ones to go to the governing body to say, stop this fight, and then inform the promoter. There's no greasing of palms, making side deals to allow these fights to go on just because it's a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and we also gave the WBC a lot of shit on here. Well, Brendan especially loves the WBC, but the WBC have put their name to this. They've sanctioned this and they've put an interim title to this fight. I mean, surely, nobody's going to tell me that they should not be informed of every detail of the fight if their reputation's also pinned onto it. So this feels like it was going to be covered up. Would we have ever found out if this wasn't leaked?
Doesn't WBC do the clean fighter program if you want to fight for their one of their belts? Don't you have to enroll in that and do like the testing all year round?
Yeah, it was VADA. It's VADA testing, but
I'm also curious how if VADA is supposed to be the end all be all of drug testing, how UKAD found it and not them.
Yeah.
Well, I think so at a national level you have different testing agents. So we have seen numerous times that USADA, which is the UK testing, the US testing one, is very close with Al Heyman. So, for example, one of the Charlo brothers didn't do 3 of his tests in the lead up to the fight, and was sanctioned to fight. Al Heyman pays, this is according to Thomas Hauser article, pays for testing $160,000 for USADA testing. So effectively, it's all a bit of a con, because the way how these testing organizations make money is by promoters accepting them as the testing organizations for them and paying them. So they know if they don't, if they harsh towards these promoters rather than being lenient towards their fighters, that's going to stop. They're going to go to another testing agent.
Yeah. It's quite like we've seen in the financial sector where people get AAA ratings when actual banks were selling dog shit, and it was the ratings agencies were saying, well, if we don't get AAA, we'll go to somebody, we'll get AAA. So that
exactly.
So really, it kind of sounds like that kind of same beast. But my question again, I'll give my question back again because we went off on one. If this didn't get leaked, but now I don't know who leaked this originally, but if this wasn't leaked, do we think that we would have ever found out about this?
Well, probably in 2 years' time, like Tyson Fury, right? what happened with Tyson Fury was that, it took years, not years, but it took months for it all to come out. And the reason why these, VADA and UCAD don't want to leak this stuff is because in case it comes back, in case the B sample comes back negative, then they might have a lawsuit in their hands.
Right.
And none of these bodies can afford to have a lawsuit in their hands.
Yeah, but the reason I'm asking that is because I'm sure it's by the board's own rules. It's like the fight can still go ahead, but your opponent has to be informed, and it's his decision if he wants the fight to go ahead while you're under appeal. And you would just expect that the WBC would be told, and I'm sure everybody would just think that would be what happened. Now, with Rivas not been told, or none of his team been told, nor the WBC been told, how easy would this have been to just have never come out and just be swept under the carpet, the same way as with Bradley Wiggins lost samples and Bradley Wiggins failed tests and all this kind of stuff, the same way that kind of just went unnoticed. I'll back to you, Riku. I'll go with that.
It's it's just shady business. Boxing as per usual. It's always operating in the shadows and in the back. Nothing's clear. It's shit, man. It's shit. It's just a shitty situation.
Yeah, I agree with Brendan, but I think the fans can't be blameless because we don't probably we use other sources to watch these fights, but we're still watching Canelo, we're still watching all these drug cheats. Until the fans stop buying drug cheats and supporting drug cheats in the sports, there's no real reason to change anything, is there? Because Eddie Hearn will just chuck, if the B sample comes back, Dillian Whyte will be chucked under the bus. AJ will continue to have his therapeutic use exemptions, and life will continue.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
you're right. You're 100% right. You're right. This is a big deal today. It'll be a big deal this week, and then in 2 months, no one will give a shit.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move on to the next fight. The next guy who pops, and everyone will be surprised.
Yeah. And do you know what actually surprised me and pissed me off a bit today? The amount of people that are still stupid enough to give the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I don't mean to say stupid, but it is quite... How many times do we need to fucking see these top guys getting popped? And when they do get popped, how many come out and say, oh, do you know what? I was cheating. I'm in the wrong. Fucking, there's got to be very few. When these guys get popped, they're always, oh, I'm innocent. This is a miscarriage of justice. And we're always eager to believe them. We're always into this fairy tale. I mean, look at how long Lance Armstrong got away with it. And how many times people were putting up the red flag saying, this guy's a cheat. And everybody was quite willing to believe he was just a superhuman. It's like the public wants to be misled. And in that podcast that you turned me on to, Riku, about the Dotum, they actually say that, they actually tell you about the people. If you can give people just a wee bit of the truth, or a wee bit of a story that can be believable, they will believe it.
But look at the bullshit here. The guy who won the Super Bowl MVP, the most watched American football game on the planet, was suspended this season for 4 games for PEDs. He was using something to come back from an injury faster. He won the fucking Super Bowl MVP. No one cares that he's a cheater. Nobody.
Yeah, but at least in baseball, American football, they just accept that nobody's serious about this business. Like, they just accept it. And if we don't live in this facade that Eddie Hearn's calling Pacquiao a drug cheat, which we'll probably go on to later, if we don't live in this facade that boxers are cleaner, it's a clean sport, and there's only a few people that take drugs, then it's more believable. But in American football and baseball, nobody bothers to cover or talk about it because it is what it is.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this guy's suspended 60 games. I'll see you in half the season. No one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're only mad if he's on your team and he's important. That's it.
Yeah, I also seen today, just on a wee side note about the seriousness of catching drugs cheats. Now, Curtis Woodhouse tweeted out today that in his full time in professional boxing, he was drug tested 3 times. That's
the lower levels.
Yeah, but I mean, he was still. I mean, did Curtis Woodhouse not fight for a British title?
Yeah, but
I just saw Gavin Rees on Twitter as well. He said he was no one ever came and knocked on his door once.
If it's 16, if testing is 16 grand a pop to test to run testing for camp, which they don't need to do in every fight, but would fans be willing to pay £5 more for a small hall ticket or £10 more to have better drug testing? And I think the answer is no.
It's clearly no.
So we come back to the point of, do fans actually want to see boxing clean? Because I don't think they care. TV networks don't care, because when you have good knockouts and when you have high ratings, when you have a juiced up 40-year-old guy, I mean, it could be anyone fighting against, another fighter that's 10 years younger than they are, beating them up. Everybody says, what a great story.
You better not be talking about Manny here. You better not be talking about my man Manny here. He's just a god.
I didn't say any names.
He's just
I'm
a god.
Saying a hypothetical situation.
I don't know. The same guy he beat up did get kind of beaten up by the Riverside Rocky.
But let's just move on to the other part of this. The hypocrisy of Eddie Hearn, that 2 days ago he was fucking suggesting and insinuating about Manny Paquiao being a drug cheat and being the doper when he knew the full time that his fucking heavyweight had failed a drugs test. And it turns out that I've literally just read, just before we come on here, that Dillian Whyte had a hearing before his fight with Rivas. Now, I still can't understand how Rivas was never told. If this went to a hearing before the fight, how was this never told? How was he never told?
Yeah, the audacity of Eddie is amazing, in the fact that he can be slagging off Manny Paquiao, who, because of the drug testing for that, he didn't get caught. Manny Paquiao has not been caught taking drugs, whilst he knows that the whole Dillian Whyte situation is going on.
While Dillian Whyte's been popped a second time.
Yeah.
And you know what? Eddie Hearn must have already the ball rolling, trying to get this injunction, thinking that it was probably already going to be granted. And I'm quite glad that the Daily Mail kind of got tore into that. I don't know if the Daily Mail maybe don't take up boxing and reporting a lot of boxing, but the Daily Mail were, they were quite fucking, they seem to not really give a shit what's happening with Matchroom, and it's quite refreshing, and that's a fucking newspaper that I hate. But it was anything I've seen online today, they've been telling you everything about Hearn. Hearn's trying to get these stories stopped, where it is that White's been popped for. And I just seen it on there that the UCAD had gave Dillian Whyte a hearing before this fight, and nobody else was reporting this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't understand why you don't come out and say it before, because it's going to come out. It's going to be leaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what, I'll be interested to... Sorry, go ahead.
Everyone looks like 400 times worse. If it all came out beforehand and Rivas agreed to the fight, even though he knew, it doesn't look as bad. Now it just looks like criminal and shady and awful.
Yeah, but now we need to see what's IFL, Boxing Social, and all the other, main platforms in this country do the next time they sit down with Eddie Hearn. Do they ask the questions, which are the obvious ones, which are, did he know beforehand? Why didn't he inform Team Rivas? Did the governing body know? What's happening with this injunction? Why did he want to get an injunction? I mean, there's so many simple questions, but let's see who asked the questions.
Coogan's not going to ask it. He's not going to get to ride around Eddie's Bentley and make funny videos. Then, there's like zero responsibility from boxing journalism.
Yeah.
Everyone's always looking for an in. Everyone's always looking for access. So they can't afford to take him to task if they want exclusivity. Which is a shame.
I would not be surprised if questions would have to be forwarded beforehand. I would be very surprised if there would be a journalistic freedom, if you will, to sit down and everything's on the table. I would be very surprised.
Like with Joshua. Joshua, that's the case, isn't it? Questions beforehand.
Yeah, and that's not journalism, and it's quite shady. And this is something I tweeted out today, and I tweeted this out today, and I says that it's not a failing the drugs test and anything like that. It's the snippets of information you get, because it seems to be this dirty little secret. As soon as Hearn found out that this was happening, he was trying to get an injunction. Why? Why? You know, just let the public know. Do you know what? They actually knew that he was a drug cheat, and yet he was willing to let people spend £20 on a pay-per-view, knowing that this fight was probably going to be void. You know, it was a non-event. It never happened. You know, if this goes through, that this fight never happened.
What's worse for me is not even that. It's more the fact what happened last weekend. Obviously, sad news, but the fact that you're willing to put Rivas in the ring against him without actually giving him a choice to pull out, because as his promoter Ugo Michel said, they wouldn't have went ahead with the fight had they known. Yeah. And now they can expect Matchroom can expect the lawsuit for this fight, because they've been conned effectively to go in a ring with a guy that is likely to be a drug cheat, at least based on the A sample.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've said this before when we started this, but I was reading it on, is it TalkSport? And so they're owned by Sky Sports, so this must be out there. But Dillian Whyte has been popped for 2 metabolites of an anabolic steroid, which was the Anabol. So metabolites is obviously the way your body reacts to these, and that's what passes through, and that's what they pick up. They might not be able to pick up the drug itself, but they pick up the byproducts. And so, you know, that's kind of, when you're thinking of steroids, and a guy that would come in with, about 1.5 stone advantage, and, you know, that does not look good. And I've always says that when you're talking about stuff like anabolics, that's like loading your gloves. That, for me, if this comes out true, I don't think Dillian Whyte is any better than, is it Louis Resta, who took the pad out of his gloves against Billy Collins.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see any difference. You're just loading the glove for the back end rather than the front. You know, you're just loading it for your body rather than at the fist side. So, you know, I don't know if
when we're talking about shoddy journalism, Sky Sports, the boxing side of Sky Sports, is yet to report the story. I mean, come on. You're meant to be a boxing news outlet. At least do the minimum and report actually what's going on.
Yeah, but I mean, that even just shows you how powerful these people are, because, I mean, Sky Sports has got the EPL, they've got Scottish football, they've got fucking football all over the place, they've got every sport near enough in this country, F1, the lot. You know, if Sky wanted to block your paper or your platform, they could really damage your sports journalism. You know, they could cut you right out. And that's the kind of power we're talking about here. It's a monopoly. You know, it's not just upsetting Eddie Hearn here, but, you know, are you willing to rock the apple cart when it comes to upsetting Sky Sports?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Sky Sports can't be happy with this either, because it makes them look very bad.
Well, they look like a con. As I said, they've sold a product that is completely tainted, and they've known it's been tainted, and yet they've went ahead and sold it to their customers. You know, that to me, I don't understand why they're not liable. Why people aren't able to like claim their money back if this fight was tainted, and there was information withheld. I don't understand how as a consumer that can be legal. But anyway,
Brendan, what's in the US, has this been a big news, or what's been the thoughts?
Not really. I haven't heard anything from Big Dan. You know, he hasn't mentioned it at all. I really didn't see, you know, just the usual suspects of boxing Twitter complaining about it. It hasn't really hit the news hard. I mean, and it's a dead sports cycle here, which is surprising.
Well,
I guess a lot of the U.S. guys, they have that presser today for the unification fight, Mo Hooker and
Ramirez.
Yeah,
Ramirez. So maybe everyone's there. I don't know. I still haven't seen much about it. I've been looking at it on and off at work all day as well.
Well, we did see.
I wonder whether anybody's going to ask Eddie there about it, because they should.
I see Eddie's picture right here. He's standing right next to Tevin Farmer, but some guys there have it's always a crapshoot over here. Guys get media passes that definitely don't deserve it, but hasn't been that big news. It's just been mainly focused over by you guys.
Today, Brendan, we'll give this to you. Today we've seen that Andy Ruiz has used this to say that he will not be coming to the UK to fight AJ. What do you think about that? Do you think how justified is that?
I think Andrew Ruiz is going to end up doing whatever the contract says that he's supposed to do. You know, I guess he could use it as a leverage point. Hey, you guys supposed to have all this great testing, and this guy's been cheating, and you let the fight go on anyway. There's no way I'm coming over there. Like we've discussed before, he can do any number of things with all those belts he has. He can drop them. You know, he can. I think, you know, it's posturing. It's posturing for more money. It's posturing for an advantage. But I thought the last I heard from, you know, whatever AJ, the sidestepper on the treadmill and dodging the machetes, was he wanted to rematch in the Garden again.
No, but Eddie was saying it was going to be in Cardiff. You know, that fucking boxing hub of the world.
Oh yeah.
There is no way it's going to be in Cardiff. DAZN put all that money to get AJ to New York. They are fucking going to want that fight back in America. What is DAZN gaining for an afternoon fight? You know,
I think exactly.
It's crazy not to put that. I would say you don't have to have it in the Garden. I think that fight should go to Vegas. You get a big Mexican crazy crowd. You get you know, if AJ has any just fans left to travel to Vegas, it'd be an electric atmosphere over there.
Yeah, see if they would have just went straight back into it. You know, the maybe of is a Mexican New Year. When is that? The no New Year, the Mexican Independence Day. When is that?
Mexican Independence Day is September. Yeah, 15th.
I mean,
and Cinco de Mayo is their big holiday. I don't know what it is. That's when you drink a bunch of Coronas.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo. I think it's like the 5th of May or something like that.
Yeah,
that's in May. But yeah, I knew that the Mexican Independence Day, and I thought, you know, that would have been a fucking great way of selling the fight in Vegas. You know, kind of try to go over there and capitalise on like the Mexican holiday. But
AJ's got to work on fighting the underwater sharks first, you know.
Yeah. But do we think, just to clear up and finish up on the drug stuff, do we think that this might see tighter controls when we've got US guys or any foreign guys coming to the UK, they maybe want outside testing done?
No. If the money's there, they'll come.
Yeah,
that's just the truth.
Yeah, and look, it was under VADA testing, which is better than USADA testing, so there are no tighter controls. It comes back to the issue that there needs to be rules that the British Boxing Board of Control need to enforce. If there is a failed sample, who needs to be informed, and what are the sanctions that go around that?
Oh, and can I just flag something up here that's just came to my head? Deontay Wilder today, as this news broke, wasn't slow in getting tore into Dillian Whyte, and Deontay Wilder says right away that he'd tested two things had shown up in his sample. And I was just wondering, I was like, how did Deontay Wilder get this information pretty much before any of the platforms, all the way over in the US?
He's in the UK at the moment, Wilder.
Oh, is he? He's doing his sit down with doesn't he have that coming up with what's her face?
Michelle Joy. Well, he's doing a thing. What Mo Pryor's doing one here. There's one in Birmingham. He's got a lot of other things lined up as well. So. He's doing a sort of a tour of the UK.
Is he rematching Billy Joe Saunders and the Nando's?
Possibly. Who knows?
Right. Anyway, let's move on. It was a fight. It was on the undercard of White Rivas. It was David Price taking on David Allen. This was a good performance by Big Price, wasn't it, Brendan?
I guess you could say that. I don't think much of Dave Allen. I've only seen him fight a few times. He just kind of seems like a club level, small hole guy. He got famous because people like him when he's on Twitter and he's a nice guy. And David Price is should be several levels above that. It was just a pummeling. He just pummeled that man.
Yeah, he absolutely did. But the thing that was, I didn't think Big Price had that kind of confidence in him to keep putting on a performance like that. Yeah, to find that performance. But I thought it was an absolute beatdown on Dave Allen. But Riku, what was Dave Allen's game plan in there? Because it looked as if he went in there and stood in front of Price and just looked to get punched in the face a hell of a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, I like Dave Allen as a person. Having met him a few times a nice guy, but I think my biggest question in the whole thing was, what did Darren Barker do? Supposedly Darren Barker's meant to be training him. Darren Barker was this new lease of life that was meant to get the best out of him. Where was the game plan? Darren Barker basically got out of the corner after 4 rounds and Mick Marsden took over. So I think from the offset, the whole Barker thing has been a bit of a celebrity stunt rather than actually anything to do with boxing.
I don't know what his game plan. Does he not punch unless he gets punched? He seems like a guy doesn't want to get sued, so he waits for a guy to hit him first, then punches back.
Yeah, and it was like, surely when you're fighting a bigger guy, it's like the blueprint's all there, it's been there for the history of boxing. When they go to jab, you've got to try and get inside that jab, you've got to try and slip it and get inside, and then go to work. Dave Allen stayed at the end of it, blocked the punch with his face, and then followed the punch back in as the guards could back up, you know what I mean? And when he was getting out at the end of the rounds, his advice for the corner was fucking terrible. It was more just like, keep it up, keep going, that kind of shit. There was absolutely nothing there to go, nobody was actually telling him, listen, you're going to have to fucking do this, and you need to start doing this, or this fight's not gone for you. David Price has got a terrible gas tank, and Dave Allen did nothing to try and force him, and see letting him box at his own pace. He made a hell of a mistake. There's no thing. What do you think of that, Riku?
Yeah, I agree, and he gave him confidence, didn't he? Because he wasn't doing anything to make him take away that confidence by hitting back, pushing him back, or he was just leaning on the ropes, and as well his guard was sort of open, and every time that Price threw a straight right hand or jab, it just came through the guard. But what I found interesting was after the fight, David Allen said, for the last, 8 or 12 months, I've been having headaches, I haven't been myself. And what will that mean in terms of his license going forward?
Yeah, he said, I saw his health, he said he hasn't felt right in 30 months, and he changes his, he's got to stay off, he's got to stay off the social media. He changes his tune like every 4 hours. I don't know what to believe out of the guy. He seems like a genuinely nice guy. You don't want to see anyone get hurt, maybe. And then the next day he's like, oh, maybe I'll still be up for the Povetkin fight. Thank God he didn't get the Povetkin fight, because the ending could have been a lot worse than it ended up being against Price.
Now, Riku, you were at the last New Age Boxing live pod, weren't you? Yeah. And Dave had just come back for a fight, was Tony
Yoka.
Yoka. Now, regardless, I'm not going into what Dave was saying about that night, but Dave took a bit of a pasting that night, and I think anybody that's seen that fight knew that fight would do lasting damage. Now, I've seen a couple of interviews with Dave Allen, and he's getting that Amir Khan thing where he's searching. You can see his eyes glazing over, and he's looking for his words rather than sentences coming natural. That's not a great sign. With all that in mind, and people spending time with Dave Allen, do you not think that people should have been looking to call that fight off the other night there before he had to quit?
Well, Darren Barker doesn't have the experience to do that, does he? I mean, his experience in the corner before that was Lee Purdy against Devin Alexander in Atlantic City, which was one of those one-sided beatings I've seen in my life. So if you don't have the right people in your corner, i.e. someone like Buddy McGirt, you can't necessarily save the fighter.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the problem with the board as well, licensing a guy like him to actually be in the corner, because the last I checked, I don't think Darren Barker has a second license.
Yeah. Do we think that maybe more power should be granted to referees? Because what I was thinking the other night there is Pricey had got into his groove. See, after 7 rounds, I think even David Price was surprised with how good he felt. And see when he hit 7th round, he was popping that jab out, he was setting Allen up, he was landing these big shots, and then he was stepping back and catching his breath again, and it was just looking terrible for Dave Allen. You go, listen, you're no one around in this fight. You're now starting to take a proper beating. should, is there no point there where you go like that? That's where the corner, I thought any time for then, the corner should have been going, listen, we've got to pull you out because you're no landing nothing and you're taking more and more of a beating. But maybe when it comes to guys like that, if you've got an inexperienced corner, which, it's one of the catch-22s, but do you not think that maybe somebody's got to take responsibility there, because fighters very rarely take responsibility into their own hands. They get blinded with success and they always think they're in with a chance. Surely God has got to take like an impartial mind at the side and go, listen, I can't watch you taking a beating anymore. I'm going to stop this right now. But referees kind of wait till you're on the ropes or you're taking a bit of a pasting and then they'll stop the fight. Maybe, like in between rounds they'll just come out and say, listen, you're not going back out. I'm not watching this anymore. You think maybe that could be an answer, especially at that level, maybe not the elite level, but at the level we're talking about with they guys?
I think they... Go ahead.
It's a tough call for... You never... I think it's a hard call for a ref to decide that without a guy taking a knockdown or, taking a knee or, or not doing anything. It's really on the corner. And I always say that the corner's first job is to protect the fighter, and that corner was they would just say it. They were terrible. They were terrible.
Yeah.
Any trainer of repute would have said after 7, that's it. It's done. It's not your night. Live to fight another day. Live to have a better life. That's it.
Sorry.
I can't put it. I really can't put it on the referee to stop it at that point.
No. I was more saying it like maybe, let's start enforcing refs to take more of a choice, because it was. I'm quite one for... I like seeing a bit of a bloodbath in that, but that was becoming a shellacking. And, it was kind of just like a rookie in there fighting. You could tell Dave Allen was well at his depth in there. Riku, what's your thoughts on this?
I think we go back to the point that we were saying earlier, that if you're Angel Lewis jumping in between Carl Froch and George Groves, you're being called a just ref. But on the flip side, fans do want to see knockouts. So if, us guys who are very into boxing, hardcore, quote unquote, we might think that actually the ref should call it off. But for the casual that's paid their £20 for pay-per-view, they want the knockout. So the ref that does jump in won't get the gigs. So unless the board starts training people and enforcing referees, so let's say referees that don't stop fights early enough, they get sanctions, or, they don't get to go on the big cards or the big shows, then there's no incentive for referees to do that because they just get the blame. It's very subjective on when you should stop a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's something we kind of see a lot more maybe in small hall fights. You'll see it in York Hall. When you've got these guys over and they're fighting one of your good prospects, and you've got somebody over for Estonia or Latvia, and they'll be taking a pasting, and the ref's quite, they'll go like, the boys had enough. But you don't really see it when it becomes like a British guy versus a British guy, two people maybe in the top 10 of the British rankings. It's that kind of protection stops, if you know what I mean, once it gets to a certain level.
Yeah, but the incentives are different there, because the referee stopping the Latvian plumber, the incentive is to build the knockout record of the small hall fighter, which puts you in good books of the promoter. It's not to protect the Latvian plumber, is it? And that's where the problem in boxing lies, that there's so many interests that are aligned with what the promoter thinks, not what the fans think, or not for the good of the fighter. The guy that gets always shafted in the end is the fighter, the one in the away corner, whether it be Rivas who's not informed for, a failed drug test, or whether it be a Latvian plumber who gets stopped a bit too early just to build the prospect's record.
As this fight was happening, I tweeted out about Dave Allen quitting, and a lot of people seem to get offended by this. Would you guys call it a quit, even though it was 100% a quit?
I did then. At the time, yeah. In his hometown, I was in a pub, and I did say it was a quit, because it was, but I don't think it's bad that you quit the fight, or, you pull out of a fight. I don't think there's any shame in that, to live to fight another day.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Twitter age now. The guy was taking like a slaughtering. I was like, what is he supposed to do in there? I mean, the guy's not knocking him out. He's done. He's fucking finished. We'll just stand there and let him just beat on him for 2 more rounds for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, and see this thing. I mean, I don't. If you're injured and you say that, listen, I can't go on, regardless, that is a quit. And to say that it isn't a quit spits on the guys that didn't do that. You know, see these guys like Joe Frazier's fucking fighting blind in one eye, taking an absolute pasting, and you know against fighting to Ali right into fucking exhaustion, and still wanting to go back out and fight until his corner fucking made the decision for him to pull him out. To say that Dave Allen wasn't a quit, he was injured, means that you're spitting on what guys like Joe Frazier and all these other guys, you know, you've seen you've seen like umpteen battles in that ring, and you've seen guys, I mean, even Jerry McClellan, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all know what happened to McClellan, but McClellan was in that ring and pretty much fought while he could hear, he was fucked. He was suffering severe brain damage in the ring at the time during the fight and kept going. Now, that's as ballsy and as stupid as you could probably be. But, you know, to say that Dave Allen fucking, that wasn't a quit, he was injured, that kind of takes away from anything that these guys are willing to put down in the ring. Some of these guys are willing to die in there.
Yeah, but I don't think that sort of is the benchmark in terms of what we should expect from fighters. But I think the connotations of the word quit are the ones that are the off-putting ones. So you could always say that, you know, they stopped the fight themselves. But I think what we're talking about is Amir Khan's style quit. Because the spectrum of quitting is so broad. It's when you said, I've had enough, my corner doesn't know what's best for me and they're not going to pull me out. I'm going to get lasting damage versus I got hit was a body shot, so I'm going to claim I got hit in my balls and I'm going to quit.
Yeah, but do you know, Frank?
For sure.
Dave Allen also done himself no favours by criticising Anthony Joshua, Amir Khan. As a matter of fact, he says that Anthony Joshua should move away to an island because he quit against Andy Ruiz. That was his words. You know, Anthony Joshua probably took a bigger pasting than him. You know what I mean? So when you're coming out with comments like that, for me to turn around and just say, oh, he's quit. You know, he's quit because he did quit. He's the one that turned around and says, listen, I can't go on. Then, you know, there's no... He's the only one that knows how he feels in that ring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's the only one that goes like, do you know what? Listen, I've had enough. That's it. But there is people out there that would go like, no, I'm no you'll never get me to quit, and I will not quit. You know what I mean? And I think that if you start saying that, oh no, like Kell Brook, that was a quit, even though he had a broken face, that was a quit.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you've got to be harsh to show these other guys that's laid it all out on the line. Sometimes you've got to be harsh on these boys to kind of respect what they've done.
I don't think it's that big a deal. To me, that's not that big a deal. You got a broken face. What's the fucking point to keep going? You're not going to win the fight. You're only going to get hurt worse.
Yeah, exactly. You're just being a human being.
You know, all these fucking people on Twitter make it seem like the guy's a coward. Obviously not. Been in a bunch of fights. He's a boxer. You know, you got a broken face. You got a broken face.
Yeah, and I mean, Dave Allen
is. That's enough for tonight.
Dave Allen has went in there with like English level, you know, national level. Boxing skill, and went in there and fought against guys like Luis Ortiz, you know, fucking world level guys, you know, and went in there and took what they've got to give. So nobody can criticise Dave Allen for not having the balls. But I mean, everybody's got to have a point where they go, like, do you know what? This isn't fucking worth it anymore. You know, I've maybe made a wee bit of money and I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I think the challenge as well, if we think about the light heavyweights of the 80s and, you know, lots of these other guys from years ago, you know, yesteryears, you know, they were warriors because they took a lot of beating, but look at the toll that it's taken on them now. That's the bigger problem, is that boxing doesn't have anything where you look after fighters after they're gone. Bands will fade away and nobody will recognise you in the pub in 10 years' time. And it took a shellacking, so there's no point in being a warrior. Yeah, I mean, if you stop the fight yourself, I think that comes down to your corner. Where your corner just doesn't know you well enough to know when enough is enough and they're not protecting you.
Yeah, and you only need to look at probably the two greatest boxers of history, or the two most renowned, and it's Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali. And you look at how their lives ended, Sugar Ray Robinson, and when you see videos of him in the 60s, he looks as if his eyes are made of glass. He's his brain's mush. He's just a poor guy. It's really sad. And then we all know how Ali ended up. So it's for somebody to turn around in the ring and say, you know what, that's it. I've gave people their money's worth. That's it. I'm not willing to put anything else down here. There's no disrespect in that.
No, I have no problem with anyone doing that. None whatsoever.
Anyway,
if you feel like you can't go on, you shouldn't be in there, because you're only going to get hurt much worse.
Anyway, let's move away from that, and let's move on.
The only thing I wanted to add to that about that fight is I hope Big Pricey doesn't think this is a big fucking start of a comeback for him, because he's another guy waiting to get his brain scrambled.
Wow.
If they line him up for a big fight, it's going to be another big knockout loss for him.
He's going to step into Dillian Whyte's shoes. Eddie Hearn's going to start talking about the second coming.
Well, see, the thing is, David Price has got asthma. I'm sure I heard that somewhere, that David Price has got asthma. So there you go, it says TUE for taking the strong anabolics right away.
Yeah, I mean, which top athletes these days don't have asthma? every single cyclist has asthma, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean, have you seen David Price after 4 rounds? I'm fucking pretty sure that man has got asthma.
Well, at least we can hope maybe, he takes some of this money he won, and maybe he can find a tailor to get him a suit that fits this go around.
The giraffe.
But let's move on from, the best of the British heavyweights to a guy who is a god amongst men. A guy who just turns back the cloak naturally without any help of drugs. And that is, of course, the 40-year-old and senator, man of the people, Manny Paquiao. He put in a great performance against a guy 10 years his junior. It was a fun fight to watch, was it no, Brendan?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. And I had my first experience of watching a fight at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how you guys do that all the time, but...
Get pissed.
Yeah,
get pissed.
I mean, you guys... that was something I was like, this is no way to watch boxing. I can't even open a beer and enjoy myself. I'm like watching it on an iPad on a porch in Germany, trying not to make noise and wake my wife up at 6 a.m. so she didn't kick my ass. But no, Manny was brilliant. I don't know how it was a split decision, but it was a clear Manny victory.
Obviously, sticking with my theme of the night, which is drug abuse and drug cheats. Which I've got a fucking cheek, because if it wasn't for drug abuse, I would not have seen that.
I don't want to talk about Keith Thurman like that. I he hasn't been tested positive.
Yeah, not for probably positive for weed or something else. I imagine LSD.
He looks like the kind of guy that he'll be just in there like full of mushrooms, no knowing what man to hit. But there was no drug testing for this fight until 5 weeks out. That raises massive flags, to say the least. But I've also got this thing where people think that Keith Thurman would not exploit that, and I don't understand why people think that Manny is the only one here that would be doping. Why would Keith Thurman not be doping? Keith Thurman, who's been out the ring for 2 years, and some people.
You tell me a PBC fighter that gets tested properly, apart from J. Rock Williams, who actually wants this testing. I mean, that's been the long-standing thing about PBC and Al Heyman, that the fighters don't get tested positively because people getting knocked out cold does good ratings. And back to the point earlier that, yes, I mean, how many people do you think didn't buy the pay-per-view in the US just because there wasn't drug testing? It makes no difference at all.
No, people buy the fight because it's Manny Paquiao. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of people nowadays I would stay up to stupid o'clock to watch. Well, I didn't actually stay up, that's a lie. I got in and then decided not to go to sleep. That was kind of more it. You say you didn't want to wake your wife up, Brendan. I had my wife fucking starfishing the bed, while I'm trying to watch it. It was fucking horrendous.
Well, I was watching. I had to watch the Dillian. I had to watch the Zone card in German, which was an experience. I couldn't understand one fucking word that was going on.
But
I didn't think Manny looked great, but he was getting hit with punches he wouldn't have been hit with even 3 or 4 years ago.
But do you not think that, that's what I was just about to move on to there, it was kind of after 7 rounds he looked to slow down, but Manny does this thing and it's beautiful, he's always done it. It's the wee steps, it's kind of like the Thai boxing, kind of, you know, like this wee shuffle, and it could just offset. And then Keith Thurman couldn't set his feet. Manny just kept, anytime Keith looked to set his feet to throw a punch, Manny moved, you know, used lateral movement, stepped round to the side, and you know, he was hitting him with weird punches for crazy angles. He even put him down on the floor with a great combination in the first round. And I was like, Manny, this is fucking superb. This is a guy 10 years his junior. You know, it was great boxing IQ. But after 7 rounds, Keith kind of started to catch on. And I think Manny slowed down a bit. And instead of, you know, shuffling to the left or the right, he was just trying to move back and forward. And that kind of played into Thurman's hands. Now, if these two were to fight again, do you think Thurman had seen enough of Manny to maybe snuff him out this time?
I think the ring rust 2 years out of the ring for Thurman. You know, you can't expect him to get back in 18 rounds after 2 years. So I think it'd be a more competitive fight. I don't know whether the result would be different, but I mean, big credit to Keith Thurman from coming out after 2 years, taking this fight, his second fight, whereas, you know, you think about a lot of these other guys that don't fight for 12 months and then they have 3-4 knockover jobs.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Keith Thurman, I mean, he got a gut check, quite literally, because Manny literally nearly halved him in 2 with a body shot. And Keith Thurman actually showed good survival skills. You know, he couldn't breathe, he got the gum shield out his mouth. And, you know, it was, you know, he fucking backtracked, he didn't have run away from Manny. But to survive then, you know, we questioned whether Keith Thurman was still in boxing for boxing reasons or was he there for the money. I think when you get hit with a shot like that, it kind of answers the questions, does it not, Brendan?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, he almost folded like a cheap suit, but he you know, stayed on his feet. He finished the fight. He impressed me with his toughness there. I never really felt too highly of Keith Thurman, as he would call himself. But you know, fights one time a year, all that stuff. He's a good fighter. He's
so highly of him. Every time she used to do an interview with him in some lodge in Florida in the middle of nowhere. he's leering.
I think he's like, you know, that's part of his act. It's part of his whatever the fuck he's trying to sell himself as. But no, if he was there for a paycheck, he would have been out of there before 12 rounds. That's for sure.
I think you know, they've got a little mini tournament going there. We'll see. I think this is Pacquiao's last fight with PBC on contract, so you know, he might go and top rank and fight against Crawford. Who knows? But the more likely option is that he'll face the winner of Spence Porter, and you might have, or maybe you mix up and put Thurman against Spence next. But they've got a mini tournament going there, so it's quite interesting.
I don't need to see Manny fight Spence. I think Spence is too big.
No, that's a fight I would hate. But a fight that I actually seen, well, you've seen on PBC's Facebook, saying who would you like to see him fight. They had Danny Garcia on there, and I think that Manny I think that's another winnable fight for Manny, and I think I think that would be a good fight. But I think Manny's movement and work rate would probably see him beat Danny Garcia. Do you think that's a good next step from Riku?
Yeah, I think Danny Garcia is quite plodding, isn't he? So it's not like he's great with his feet, but I do like him as a fighter. But it depends what Pacquiao turns up. I mean, the Pacquiao that lost to Jeff Horn is a bit different to the one that was out for a while doing his senator duties, drinking orange juice in the Philippines and then came back. So these are quite different types of fighters.
I'm fucking convinced Manny's got diplomatic immunity in boxing. You know, I don't think
I think he owes so much fucking money in back taxes here.
Yeah, he doesn't have diplomatic immunity for the IRS.
Manny might be headlining pay-per-views at like 56. They better step up the orange juice cocktails over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, surely, I mean, he must be making something, because that was why he fought Jeff Horn in Australia, and we had that. Was it Manila? Did they fight Manila?
Well, he got 20 million. He got 20 million for this fight. So
yeah, but like, surely, if he's the IRS, if you owe them money, they just seize your paychecks. So
no, it doesn't really.
Ask Brendan.
No, is that not how it works?
No. I don't know if he owes him that. They owes that much money where they'll do that to him. But if you fight, I don't know, that's 20 million, 10. You figure 10 million is going to the tax man right away.
Yeah, you never know.
They pay these guys strangely too. Like they probably had to front him money. That guy's wasted so much money. He's opening, opens a ton of businesses in the Philippines that close like 3 weeks later.
He builds hospitals,
but that have no doctors or nurses in them.
He builds hospitals in a country where, people are poor and you've not got an NHS that picks up. That's only going to end one way.
Well, he did like his karaoke bars as well, so he probably had a few of those, and he had other vices when Jinky was about to leave him before that Marquez fight when he got knocked out cold. So cheers, Jinky, for that.
He said his plans for after boxing was buying an NBA team, but I don't know if he just saw. But the Clippers was the last one that sold. It went for like $2.6 billion. So
fuck's sake, man!
I think Manny's got a few more fights in him to get up to that kind of money,
Yeah, absolutely. What about Keith Thurman? As we said, he got a gut check. He survived that fight after a few tricky moments. He did have a few good rounds, but for me, that was due to Manny maybe taking the rounds off or just maybe slowing down a bit. Can we see Keith still mixing it at the top of the welterweight division?
I think he's up there with everyone not named Manny, Errol, or Terrence. Aside from those three, I think he can. He could make a fight a rematch with Porter, or no one wants to see.
Well, I mean, that was a great fight first time round.
Yeah, but no one wants to see Porter. That's the thing.
I like Sean Porter too. He's a nice guy. It's tough. It's tough to watch.
Yeah, it is. But on the side note, Porter, Garcia, Thurman, they all 30s or 31. Then you've got Paquiao, that's obviously older. Crawford is a young either. Spence is young, but he's not that young. He must be 29 or something. So where's the next generation of 140-pound fighters coming? Because the interesting one might be that if Prograis wins the World Boxing Super Series, he's a free agent, so he's not. I mean, he's signed by Lou DiBella, but you might get him into the mix as well and get him fighting against these guys, because that's the logical step to build the next 147 fighter within the PBC.
But you're overlooking Conor Ben there when you're saying that.
No, sorry, I forgot.
We have Josh Taylor.
Josh Kelly.
Yeah, I was going to say Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor is a massive 140. But he's a big boy.
Those are the next guys. Those are the next guys to come true, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's the next pool, because
I really don't think that we will see Errol Spence stay at 147 much longer either. The boy seems really big for the weight, so I don't actually know if we'll see him.
He makes the weight comfortably though.
If we don't get him versus Crawford, it's a fucking crime.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, and you think to yourself, these people are in this tail, like these money men, your Al Haymans and your Bob Arums, they're all there to make money out of boxing, so that is a fucking massive fight that will probably make two of them bigger stars off the back of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
they're not going to go into
pay-per-views.
Yeah, but they won't go into it superstars. But they'll promote it superstars.
I want to see how well this Spence pay-per-view versus the Muggy artist Sean Porter goes, because he's claiming he sold all the pay-per-views against Mikey Garcia when everyone knows it's the Mexican fighter who sells all the pay-per-views here. I think this one will do they'll be lucky to do 100,000 buys. It's kind of what kind of what Crawford sells. So it's not even a pay-per-view fight. They're paying these guys so much money now that they need to make them pay-per-view fights.
Well, I'm plugging my own article here, but I'm working currently on something which is looking at the US pay-per-view market. I've been speaking to a few people over there in the know, former HBO people and other people in the know about the pay-per-view markets, and I think I'm not going to give too much away, but I think the challenge is with the pay-per-view model that some fighters are actually better off being on the zone, where there's a flat fee, versus some are pay-per-view fighters, because actually the cable companies take so much money that the promotion doesn't make a huge amount on these pay-per-views. And also the marketing costs are so high that the fighters, the upside of pay-per-view, if you are a guy that sells 1 million pay-per-views, there's huge upsides. But if you don't sell more than 250, then you're probably better off being in the zone.
I think Bob used to say that all the time on pay-per-views. I don't know if I ever believed that guy, but he always said it. With the lower, he's lucky to break even a lot of the times, but he'll put fighters on pay-per-view because that's the only way he can get them. That's the only way he can get them TV time or dates. During the network wars, which he is a guy with deep enough pockets where you can take a chance and spend your own money. He doesn't have to do that anymore now that he has ESPN. So.
Well, Spence is going to be the proof of the pudding in the US market. Whether how well Spence Porter does, that's a tell of what kind of pay-per-view power Spence has, and that might force the hand of Fox or ESPN to try and get the money over to try and get one of those guys on the other side. But yeah, it remains to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, we've done a lot of it. That's been on for over an hour now, and we've really just spoke about free fights, so we'll quickly move on to the news, and then we'll finish up. Well, no, we've got a couple of previews today, and then we'll finish up. But obviously the big news this week, and it's sad news, it was Maxim Dashidev, am I saying that right? Dadshev? Aye, that's it, Dadshev.
Yeah.
He was pulled out in the 11th round. I'm sure we all seen the videos with Buddy McGirt convincing him he couldn't get back out. But after the fight, he was rushed to hospital. It turned out he was bleeding in the brain, and he subsequently passed away. It's really sad news, and I'm sure we've all seen the video of Buddy McGirt convincing him. The way Buddy's speaking to him, you can tell that this guy was, again, one of the guys we were talking about earlier on. You need to drag him out of the ring. Buddy McGirt done a great job in the corner bringing him out, but it just shows the dangers of what we're asking these guys to do for entertainment.
Yeah. It's just it's totally sad and unfortunate. Feel, it's part of this sport, which absolutely sucks.
I mean, there isn't much else to say about it, but yeah, it's very sad, and I think these things will keep on happening in boxing, and I'm not an expert in this, but I'm sure the commissions, particularly the US, could do more to ensure that there's the safety measures in place. So I know in Britain you have to have, is it 2 paramedics on site or 2 ambulance crews? I think you just need minimum requirements to ensure that everything's there on site. But yeah, it's just sad news, and I mean, that's sad is sport that we love. It's a blood sport.
Yeah, I'm sure that in Britain we need to have oxygen. Every fighter's got the access to oxygen after the fight and shit like that as well, whether it's small hall or not, which is just a bog standard.
I mean, and I don't think you can fault Buddy McGirt at all. I think he always watches after his fighters. He pulled Paulie after he threw his shit fit during the Hatton fight. He's pulled the Toro at a fight. He looks for he's always the opposite of Dave Allen's corner.
I thought when you heard Buddy McGirt speaking on the cameras after it, he says, I would much rather, obviously Buddy didn't realise how bad it was, but he was seeing that his boy was taking a paste in there. He's pulled him out.
That doesn't sound good.
Oops, sorry, he's fucking shouting at me here. Buddy was saying after the fight that, he would rather his man be angry with him for a day or two than Buddy have to see the consequences of no pulling him out. And I thought that was very powerful when McGirt was saying that, and it showed you kind of what your corner should be doing. you could tell that Buddy McGutt was, you know, you seen him actually pleading with other people in the corner, saying, don't let him go back out, fucking tell him he's not to go back out. You know, I thought it was really powerful watching that. And I think every cornerman should have to watch that, you know, to see what your job actually is. First and foremost, before you're giving advice, before you're fixing cuts, you're there to make sure that these guys are not a danger to themselves when they're in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's 100%. I couldn't say it better myself.
Agreed.
We've also heard this week as well, just a few days after that an Argentinian guy who was fighting, I don't know when he was fighting, I think he was fighting on Friday night, Hugo Santallan, he was only 23-year-old, he died as well with injuries sustained in the ring in a WBC title fight, and that was in Argentina. This is prompted, again, sad situation, and it is a dangerous sport. We always say it's a blood sport, and you know, this has got these brain charities, like brain damage charities and that, calling for boxing to be banned, and it's such a narrow-minded fucking view, because boxing saves many more lives than it actually damages. You know, we're always going to have these tragedies, but I mean, as Michael from Beyond the Rope says today, what will we do? Will we ban mountain climbing next? And will we ban car racing? You know, because people die in that every year. Motorbike racing, should we ban that? It's quite a narrow-minded view when these people that don't watch boxing or appreciate boxing or see who it saves and the stories that come from boxing, you know, the amount of people that's lives have been turned around by boxing, and these people just say, oh, 2 people have died this week, this sport should be banned. It's fucking... I mean, it's quite...
If it starts anywhere, it's going to start here, because we like banning stuff here. They were doing a concussion study on children playing soccer, that they shouldn't be, you know, heading the ball in. They want to take away tackling from tackle football in America. Boxing, if it's going to be banned anywhere, this will be the first place to do it, for all the wrong reasons.
I wouldn't be so sure, because Scotland banned smoking in pubs first, you know. So... But, so I mean, we kind of like telling people what they can and can't do in this country, but you know, it's quite a narrow-minded view, isn't it, Riku? You know, I don't understand. Surely these people that work for these charities, you've got to be open-minded about stuff. You know, you can't just take 2 sour points and go, listen, look, there's 2 tragedies that's happened in the space of a week, but what about the hundreds of other fights that go on when people make their money and people go watch, and you know, nothing happens? Why focus on the negatives?
Well, the same is going on in every sport. If you look at American football stateside, which Brendan will know, ice hockey is the same. Football / soccer for our US listeners here, the heading in that's being criticised. So at the end of it, we'll all end up, playing chess rather than doing any real sports, and anything in life carries risks. Of course, boxing's a dangerous sport, but nobody makes any qualms about the fact that it is a dangerous sport.
Yeah, and then, here we won't be allowed to box, but we can all go buy an AR-15 and mow down deer like, they're incoming troops. That's no problem,
Do you know what?
Hitting the ball off your head into a net, problem.
Do you know what? We were actually sitting here in the UK, and that never even fucking crossed my mind, and that actually is so relevant, because of the amount of schools that get shot up. Kids are more at risk of a psychopath walking into their school and shooting them than they are playing fucking American football or, you know, doing boxing or any of these sports. You know, it's fucking, that just shows you the madness.
That's when these old fat fucks get out of their house and stop playing Fortnite and run around for 2 hours. We're like the fattest country in the world over here at this point. I mean, I'm one of them too, so I can't really, I can criticize. Me too. I'm a fat bastard too, but Jesus, it's boxing. It's boxing. It's like because a couple fatal injuries. They're tragic. It's always it's a new way of doing things. Something goes wrong, cancel it, stop it, ban it, instead of working to improve it.
Yeah, I mean, I just say there's like, I mean, everybody loves some of the stories that come out for boxing. I mean, I love Andre Ward's story. For where Andre Ward came from, the kind of upbringing he had, And you look at, I mean, we all know we kind of follow the same routes as our parents, or we kind of go down the same paths and make the same mistakes. People that have been brought up shit, kind of, you know, follow the mould, you know what I mean? You don't fall far for the tree. When you see guys like Andre Ward, you look at what Andre Ward does, you know, now he's got all his wits, he's walked away a multi-millionaire, and, you know, he's had one of the best boxing careers about, you know, he's done everything in boxing. He gets to walk away with all that. Otherwise, he would have been, you know, who's to say wouldn't have ended up a heroin addict like his parents, or, you know, fell into that. And, you know, so you put that down to a life saved. You know, even when you look at guys like Johnny Tapia would have probably died a hell of a lot younger than what he did if it wasn't for boxing.
The Peterson brothers, you know, they were homeless, living in a van.
Yeah, I mean, I think even Bernard Hopkins was in prison at one point, wasn't he? And you know, I mean, boxing changed his life.
The thing is, if you stop boxing, you'll end up having people fighting in the backyards like Kimbo Slice style, or you'll end up having underground fighting, which is, you know, more dangerous, unregulated. So you can't just stop something legally and expect there not to be any consequences. Yeah,
exactly, and that's why Queensberry rules boxing as we know it. That's why it was formed, to stop this. Let's get it regulated. Let's have rules, and, you know, let the sport evolve. And, you know, and it's became safer over the years. You know, you look at some of the... I was watching a documentary with Jack Johnson. You watch the way some of these guys fought. You know, I would like to see how many... the mortality rate in boxing back then, because, fuck me...
They're fighting 35 fucking rounds. 56 rounds.
Yeah, and when you knock somebody down, you just stand over them. As soon as they look like they're going to get up, you fucking hit them again. You know, it's a... you know, that's it. And look at how the sport's evolved now. Into what we're watching now, you know, we're really doing the absolute most that we can for these guys, and, you know, but there always is going to be tragedies.
Well, Andre Ward's on Twitter at the moment tweeting a lot about what boxing could do better, and one of his recommendations is to go to same-day weigh-ins and allow IV drips, you know, legally.
Guys have been screaming this for years. I don't know why. I think they need maybe a committee of guys like Andre Ward, you know, smart ex-fighters who know what they need. Might be a good idea for these people to listen to these guys.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would watch boxing less if the weigh-ins were the same day and you'd have IV drips at the end. I don't think anybody would.
They could do what they do with UFC did. Did they change the hours of the thing? They do now for the cameras. They do like the ceremonial weigh-in later in the day, so they can get their quotes and their pictures or whatever. You know, you can do that the day before and let the guys weigh in the morning or whatever.
Yeah, and I like the IBF's the 10-pound rule. I like that. I think it kind of, you know, it kind of like deters weight bullying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it kind of, if you can't keep to within £10, putting on £10, then you shouldn't be at that weight. I like that approach. You know, I've actually got the IBF has pretty much became my favourite governing body of late. I don't want to jinx them, but, you know, when you look at the WBC and the WBA, they've had a terrible year. Let's say the IBF have kind of flew under the radar, not really did anything. They enforced mandatories, you know, they kind of keep by the book.
The only thing I don't like about them is they will stop a big unification fight to enforce a mandatory and not wait for it to happen later on. But you know, they all got their little things that bother me.
Yeah, but again, as we always do, we gaff and tangents on the side. But also just before we come on here, that Mike Coppinger has reported that Kovalev Canelo looks as if it's back on and it's in the advanced stages of negotiations. Now, it's no great news, big news. We've heard about this. We thought that fight was off, whatever. But the dates that he was saying was in October, which would mean that for I do my calculations, that must mean that the Anthony Yard fight must not be happening.
I mean, I guess they're gonna have to pay him some money, right? I mean,
step aside money, isn't it?
Yeah, that's some of the best money you can make in boxing.
Exactly. I think it's $1 million for this fight.
I would if I was him, I'd have no problem and 100% sign up for that.
Yeah, and then you've got the prospect becoming mandatory to Canelo Alvarez. Which,
exactly.
Who won't fight you and drop the belt? But that's
yeah, but even then you could be fighting for a vacant belt against somebody even easier than Kovalev.
I still find it so strange that he's not fighting on the big Mexican Independence Day weekend. I don't know if he's cycling off his roast beef sandwiches he's having down there in Mexico. Right. Well, it just seems so odd to me. Maybe he did hurt his knee, or maybe the beef was bad again.
Well, his knee was severely strapped up, so stop talking about my man, Brendan.
Was it wrapped up in Mexican steaks?
But they were out the freezer, so it was to stop the swelling.
Watch him dance on the next, shoulder program that they do for his fight. Do his Latino dancing again, and we'll see how good that knee is.
Dancing with the Stars.
Remember when he did that?
Yeah, but I don't think this fight. If Canelo goes to fight Kovalev, fuck me, that's a fucking massive step up. I mean, because Kovalev in his last fight looked to me as if he hadn't slipped as much as we all thought he'd slipped. And, he looked as if he was interested in boxing again. If Kovalev gets in there against Canelo and uses that jab that he's got and kind of, uses his size advantage, it could be a big night for Kovalev and a long night for Canelo, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's a 15-pound huge jump. It's Kovalev's a tall guy. I guess he's 6 foot, 1, and Canelo's built like a fire hydrant mailbox build. At this point, the guy's a tank. But if he could utilize the jab and keep him away, it could be a great fight.
Yeah, and I know who you will pin your colours to in that fight, because you're a big Kovalev fan, aren't you, Brendan?
It's tough. You got the drug cheater, you got the guys accused of beating the women in the bushes. So
yeah.
I mean, I guess I'll go with the woman beater in that one.
Will he be wearing his gorilla shirt to the ring?
That shirt was so bad.
What do you think? Riku? Good fight.
It's a good fight. Yeah, I just don't see Canelo losing. Canelo isn't allowed to be losing in boxing. That's the thing.
Right, cool. So you're just going to disrespect my man, so I'm not even telling you who I think's going to win. Yeah.
On a different note on the news, I was reading also Mike Coppinger with all his new exclusive sources. He's saying, I haven't heard Dana White say it, but supposedly Dana White hired a big name to run run the boxing division of Zuffa. He's making a play for boxing. So I don't know who I'm trying to think of who it could be. Maybe he's got the old guy from HBO. Who knows?
Yeah, might be, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Richard Schaefer cropped up with Dana White.
What about?
Is there enough ego? Is there enough room for those two egos?
Probably not, but Richard Schaefer's been in.
The Swiss banker and the guy who calls his own fighters scumbags and pieces of shit.
What about you always see Stephen Espinoza. No, Stephen Espinoza. What's the guy for fucking the platform? Is it Showtime in America? Is it Stephen Espinoza?
Stephen Espinoza,
yeah, it's Stephen Espinoza. Stephen Espinoza's always commenting on boxing and that, but as far as I understand, Showtime's near enough out of boxing. I think that they've got a show on this weekend, but it's pretty much the keeping their finger in the pie, but they're not really in all the way. Is that right, Brendan?
I'm not really sure. They have a budget for boxing. I like Steve too. Not everyone likes him, but I think he's pretty much a straight shooter. He says what he thinks, and if it's true or not, who knows?
Yeah, I like Stephen Espinoza. No, he goes at it with Eddie, which nobody does. Which
also he'll interact with a bozo like me with 150 followers on Twitter if you ask him a question, video and answer. So I hope he stays. I hope Showtime. The more players there are, the better. I always say that, but Showtime's been PBC exclusive for so long at this point.
Yeah,
and with their mega deal with Fox,
That's what I was going to move on to. If Dana White is looking to get into boxing, that might be his avenue. It might be his avenues with Showtime. Because
he has a UFC deal with ESPN.
Yeah,
now,
I think
now exclusively, ESPN Plus. That's the only place you can buy UFC pay-per-view in the States now. And with them having a big deal with Top Rank, I don't know. I'm just curious to see how it plays out.
I think the rumor is that he'll buy PBC because PBC is up for sale.
Well,
So
same people who own most of UFC, Entercom or whatever that's the company that's in talks to buy PBC. So that does make sense.
Yeah. See, Riku, that's why you're here, man. I fucking forgot about that.
Putting the pieces together for us.
Yeah, man.
Dumbasses.
Fucking that's it, man. You can tell it's not just the Queen's English you speak, man. You fucking drop truth bombs.
Exactly. I add a bit of value.
Please. The Finnish #1 education system in the world.
Fucking right, and I can't wait. I'm going to go and do higher education in Finland, man. Fucking can't wait to learn to speak English.
You'll come out like me, just hating the sport. So what's the point?
It's not that. See, when I read articles now, I read it with your voice. It's like you're my audiobook.
I might start charging for that.
And just to finish up, this was something we meant to talk about last week, but we kind of get fucking sidetracked and what have you. But Lomachenko, Luke Campbell, 31st August, London. It's on, guys. It's on.
Yes, it is.
Looking forward to it.
Can't wait.
You can't wait to see Loma do his dance in person and fold Luke Campbell in 4 rounds, and then we can go get drunk.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to it now, and it's...
Is Mrs. DJ Boxing coming too?
Yeah, she's going to come. Every time I say to her, she just gives me the little smirk because it's as if to say, you're not going to London without me. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this so much, and I've never been to Rio 2 for a fight, and getting to see Loma in the flesh, surely this is something every boxing fan should try and make the pilgrimage to London for.
I'd say,
I think
every time I see him, I say it's worth it. Yeah, I know I still have to buy them. I should get on top of that.
So when we're down there, obviously we are all going to be meeting up, and we will be meeting up with everybody else. We'll have the mayor of Brixton and all that to meet up with. We'll no doubt have like guys like Craig Scott and that they'll be heading down. So it's up to anybody else.
Anybody that's heading down, just give us a shout and we'll organise some drinks.
Yeah, man,
Bridge, which is YouTube stuff from.
Yeah, it's always good fun.
If we can bring a Scottish interpreter for any Scottish guys who, after 6 beers, I don't understand any words.
Fuck, man. I'll get you on the Buckfast. I know where to get Buckfast in London. I worked there for long enough. I know all the Buckfast hunts. I will get you on the Buckfast and you will be talking Scottish before the end of the night, mate. Don't worry about that. But as the fight goes, it's one of them fights where we're all just going, we don't really care what's happening with the undercard. We're all getting to see Lomachenko, or is that just me?
I feel like that's usually how it goes for a US fight. I could really care less who's on the bottom. I usually buy for the main event, but I didn't even look and see who was on there. Sonny Edwards, Charlie Edwards, one of the Edwards brothers.
Probably. I heard that there's going to be a heavyweight on the card, so who knows? It might be when the Usyk make it a comeback.
I'm not even getting my hopes up for that. Fuck.
Usyk Price. There we go. Get Pricey a big fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck, could you imagine Usyk's movement against Pricey, man? Fucking hell, you need to be sitting at ringside with the inhalers after 30 seconds.
That's not fair. You'd have to give him like a 2x4 or something to hit him with.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, man, looking forward to that. So anybody that's going to be going to that, definitely hit anybody up, anyone who's up on Twitter, and they definitely will meet up for drinks and that. It'll be a good laugh. Looking forward to it, can't wait. But also, let's just move on to the previews quite quickly. This weekend we have Maurice Hooker against, is it Jose Ramirez? Unification fight. I like this fight. Good fight. I mean, Ramirez is a bit he's got a high output. Do you think that's just got to be a bit much for Hooker, Riku?
Yeah, I think so, and I think the plan is that Ramirez wins this fight and then goes and fights Terence Crawford next. It's an interesting fight because there's a network swap, so this is a fight on DAZN where you have an ESPN fighter fighting on DAZN, and in exchange, Campbell and Lomachenko are fighting on ESPN. So I think it's one of those things that hopefully we'll see more of in boxing. But as the fight goes, it's a good fight, it's a unification fight. Hooker's big and awkward, but I've never really rated him as a boxer that much.
But see, I'll go next to you, Brendan. Hooker seems to be one of these guys who's always you never fancy him when it comes to a close fight, and then he maybe always just pull it off. When it comes to Ramirez is kind of just all output and no finesse, if I remember correctly. Anyway, I've only seen him a couple of times, but he's more about the punches landed and the kind of non-stop working, rather than actually, concentrating on what he was doing.
Yeah, he just throws punches and bunches. I guess that's the good way to describe him. Both guys they're like the same size. They have pretty much identical records. For me, it's a 50-50 toss-up fight, and you like to see that in a unification fight. I'm going to flip a coin and say I'm going to take Mo Hooker by split decision.
Yeah, I mean, because Hooker is a hooker, no a prostitute, but Hooker is a hooker by nature, and Ramirez is kind of like as you say, punches and bunches. A guy who's just output will look to beat you and overbear you. I don't want to jinx this fight. I know I'm going to. It's going to be a shit fest now, but that usually always means that you're guaranteed a good fight, because Ramirez will leave himself open to be countered by big hooks or the hooker. Fucking sounds weird. And then on the other side, you'll see Ramirez just land fucking loads of punches. So that usually always makes up for a good style combination. Who do you picking to win it? We'll go Riku.
Split decision.
Yeah, Riku, who are you going?
I'm going to go Ramirez, unanimous decision.
And I am going Ramirez, unanimous decision as well. I just think the output will go too much. I don't know if Hooker might have enough to get him out of there, because when you look at Ramirez's record, I'm no fucking 100%. I think I've seen him box twice. But I don't think that he's ever been in with somebody as good as Hooker, if I'm being honest. Whereas Hooker has been in there against guys like Terry Flanagan, and his power got respect right away.
I think his best fight, maybe he fought Amar Amim, maybe Jose Cepeda. He fought another Mexican guy who was.
I think I've seen fighter. That Omar Amim. That's the big black guy, isn't it? Big black boy, I think he is.
He's from.
He's from America,
he's from upstate New York.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was the fight I've seen. That's the fight I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all around this. I think they're all pretty much the same type of competition.
Yeah. And also this weekend, again in the US, I don't think we've got anything on the UK this weekend. Again in the US, we've got Tank Davis taking on Ricardo Nunes. Should be another night's easy work for Tank, should it not?
Yeah, I think everyone knows what you should be watching. You should be watching the unification and not the Tank Davis plow through some bum. Interesting enough. I'm sorry, Rico.
No, I say my favourite thing this week about Tank Davis was that he tweeted criticising Buddy McGirt, and then he watched it and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got it a bit wrong."
Also, I saw what's his name get a little old. Remember Leonard Ellerby, Floyd's pal? He got a little upset with that. Big fat Dan and his fleece were going down to Texas to see Mo Hooker and Ramirez mix it up, and not Trav because he lives right by Baltimore. Not staying in town to see Tank Davis's title fight against I don't even know the guy who's fighting. He was visibly bothered him on Twitter.
Was he wearing his sunglasses in the picture?
Yes, and then he proceeded to get eviscerated by every single comment on there. So that was nice to read on the way home.
Right, well, Tank Davis. Let's just talk about Tank. It rhymes with another word that we use in Scotland. I would call him Wank Davis, right? He's a bit of a dick. How has he looked coming into this fight? Because he usually has problems with his weight, And I don't think it's actually anything to do with him struggling to make the weight. It's more him struggling to stay committed.
I don't know. I haven't heard him I haven't heard him crying that Floyd doesn't love him and he doesn't get paid enough money recently. I haven't really actually heard much from him.
No, neither have I. I mean, he's done his silly tweet with Brown about apart from that stuff. Yeah, haven't heard that.
Because I've literally no seen him. I've no. So has anybody seen any interviews of that to say is he looking good? Is he looking fucking? Is everybody just pissed off with Tank Davis? We'll just watch his fights.
I won't be shocked when he misses. When he misses weight tomorrow. But won't be a surprise whatsoever.
Yeah. But again, we're just accepting it's an easy next spot for Tank. Another fight that's said to make him look good.
Within 3, I think, if he tries.
What about you, Riku?
Same, within 3. He's got another knockover job, and we won't see him for another year.
Yeah, maybe we change his name from Tank Davis to one time a year again.
Yeah, I think I was just going to say an early stoppage. It's one of them ones. It's but at what point is this? I'm
trying to figure out if he's going to be in jail before he has a big fight. What's going to happen first? Is he going to be in a legitimate fight, or is he going to be in prison first?
Yeah,
in prison. He must have some sort of outstanding search warrant somewhere in some states.
He's hanging out with Broner way too much. Like, those two will be in a shootout eventually.
I actually seen a video, and it was Tank Davis. It was taking the video, and it was Broner. He was videoing Broner, and the two of them came out like a big SUV, and fucking Broner's in a petrol station with a semi-automatic weapon. And he's fucking flaunting it to the camera, and I'm sitting there going, this is fucking bizarre.
This is America.
I was sitting there thinking...
I'm sure his isn't legal, but I could probably get one.
But it's just, you go like that to yourself, you guys are supposed to be sportsmen, you've got the full world, at the end of your fists, you can go and make all this money and then go and live a life where you don't need to do fuck all, you can set yourself up, but instead they're sitting in petrol stations in some fucking downtown in Baltimore, and they're playing with machine guns
with a bunch of money and guns.
Yeah, and sitting there playing with machine guns and getting fat, and and it just fucking.
Broner looks like he can fight me at this point. I'm at like 2 fucking 20. I think Broner might outweigh me by 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah, I seen him after the Thurman fight last week shouting about Keith Thurman was gambling last night. I fucking. Adrian Broner sitting there talking about somebody else's vices, I thought was fucking rather hilarious.
Yeah.
But
Adrian's got to take some of that money and buy some bigger shirts. Trust me, buddy. Extra large. Covers up the gut.
But what I thought was absolutely bizarre is like, Adrian Broner's an idiot until he puts on a pair of glasses, and then you listen to him. And I thought that was like, it's got that kind of Malcolm X feel, like as soon as he wears glasses, you'll go like, this guy can talk, and he's actually just talking shit.
Mainly for the last 2 months, I've been watching him on Instagram, and he's just been to different strip clubs, chucking money into the air.
Yeah. I've seen that as well.
That's his Instagram. Him and different strip
clubs. He has pretty much just the devil on your shoulder, but he's got his own wee life, and he's away like a multi-millionaire. See everything that's bad in your life that you can do. It's just Adrian Broner, just in a wee person. The guy is totally bizarre.
No one's going to be surprised when something bad happens to him.
Yeah.
The next guy he tries to fight in a bowling alley is probably going to shoot him in the face.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's a shame, and as I say, Tank Davis, after that Pedraza fight, before the Pedraza fight, I had the feeling that he was going to win it. I didn't realise he was going to absolutely destroy Pedraza. And I thought, this kid's got something. This guy could be the future. And then you're just seeing it being pissed away right in front of your eyes, and it gets sad watching that.
Yeah, and especially he could be a big name in Baltimore. It's a big sports town. They haven't had anything good in a long, long time. And he's fighting at that Harbor whatever casino they built over there. At this point in his career, he shouldn't be having a fight in front of I think it does like 1,800 people.
Yeah,
that's nothing.
Fuck, man, that's not great.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually seen that the undercard is actually live on Facebook as well, which again, you know, I know Facebook's a massive platform, but it's a massive platform in the sense that people go in there to interact with their friends. They don't go in there to watch boxing.
Yeah, it's like where my dad goes to bitch about the construction on the street or something like that, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, but anyway, guys, unless any's have got anything to add, that's plenty for the night. I would suspect anyway.
I'm gonna go get my hands on some PEDs and chow down dinner. I gotta shed some weight. I gotta shed some weight for the England trip. Maybe I'll call Dillian and see if he's got any recommendations.
Oh yeah, man. That's you'll be over here pissing like the Hulk again.
Well, Mexican beef will do that job. So as we know, clenbuterol sheds weight and builds muscle. So get some Mexican beef from Canelo's freezer.
Yeah,
you guys try and stay cool. I'm gonna put on some more of my air conditioners. I gotta get this whole house to about I'd say like 16 to 17 degrees Celsius.
Go fuck yourself, mate.
Piss off.
No, do you see? Just as we were finishing up on that, I would have loved to have seen it if Eddie Hearn and the UK had actually told the WBC just to see how hypocritical they would have been compared to the Canelo situation. You know, just to see, we're going to call this fight off, and you know, because I mean, when Nevada Commission gave Canelo a ban, they were outraged by it. You know, regardless of the field test.
Yeah.
You know,
well, there's a new IFL video 20 minutes ago with Eddie Hearn, so get watching that and laughing.
Also, if I could recommend to you guys, if you're sick of the DAZN commentary, switch over to the German feed, because I have a clue what they were saying. It was kind of nice to enjoy the fights that way. Not listening to someone blow smoke up someone's ass that's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, just to touch on this, Alex Arthur was actually doing the DAZN feed, and I was watching it on IPTV. But between fights, zero effort made. The camera just zoomed out, and
the production was not good, not good at all.
And I was thinking to myself, why didn't they just take like the full Sky, like, you know, just kind of like take the Sky feed and go to like their stuff between fights? You know, you'd have thought that would have been a logical thing to do rather than just have nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, I tell you what, these German boys, they filled the airtime though. They didn't sound like they took a breath between them. I mean, I didn't learn much German inside un Bier und Schnitzel. But, you know, they didn't say any of that, but they talked the whole thing. I was like, wow. Megan, my wife, said, what are you listening to? I'm like, these German guys tell me about the fight.
It's the fact that you didn't even mute it. You just let them go.
I did. I can't watch something. I can't watch it in silence. You know, even if I got to watch a Spanish fight here, I can understand some Spanish, but I need some noise, or else it's just I'm sitting in the dark by myself watching boxing on mute.
Oh no, your
missus,
if you had it on mute, your missus would have thought it was porn, man. She would have definitely thought you were watching porn.
Oh man.
But anyway, guys, thanks again for coming on. That's been superb. And again, man, we fucking went for nearly 1 minute. We're 1 hour 37. So we've definitely we did good tonight.
Alright guys, get some rest. I'll talk to you soon.
Right, no problem. Right, catch you later on, boys. Bye.